Hey guys, Brian Stevens over here with Mortgage Shops and the National Real Estate Post. Those are my video sites that I do. Then I write loans with the Loan Factory, and I'm on a team. I'm part of a team called CB Loans. If you're a loan officer and you want to learn more about CB Loans, just go ahead and just give me a call and let me know. Also, if you're here right now and you're watching this on YouTube, I know that I have some YouTube viewers now that I simply haven't had before. I privately host everything. So put something in the comments. Let me know who's here, and if you have any questions, by all means, feel free to ask me. So we're going to talk about the oh shit graph today. And that's exactly what I think it is. And I found it, and I think it's very, very revealing. In fact, right now, as I said yesterday, we have just released the unholy trinity of bad decision makings for the mortgage and real estate markets. It is the federal government, their ability to shoot themselves in the foot is just beyond scope. It's crazy. We did three things last week that are bad ideas, could have long-term ramifications on the mortgage, real estate market, and the overall economy. And I have heard this term for 20 years. I've been doing videos now for nearly 20 years. And this, my friends, is crazy. But the most common phrase that I have said over the past 20 years is unintended consequences. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. This is another example of that. So we're going to go into a couple of things that are bad decisions, and I will explain to you what we can do about it. So first of all, last week's unholy trinity of bad decision making was one, doing away with credit scores on our Fannie Mae products. They say this is going to bring more home ownership to people. If it brings anything, it'll bring more foreclosures. They'll already go down to a 620 credit score. And if you're going below a 620 credit score on a conventional loan, trust me, that is a foreclosure waiting to happen. All we have to do is look back on history. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. This will have unintended consequences. I want you to think of the subprime debacle back in 2008, 9, and 10. What happened then? People with bad credit scores got their houses foreclosed on, and it basically took the entire housing market down with them. Which loan is doing the worst right now of all the loans? Is it non-QM loans? Is it your Ginnie notes, which is your VA, FHA, USDA? Or is it your conventional loans? Which one of those loan types is performing the worst? Survey says FHA by a landslide. And we are propping up FHA by not allowing the properties get foreclosed on because the Treasury is making the damn payments on half these houses. Yeah. Who has the lowest credit score? FHA. What is the average credit score for an FHA loan? 640. If conventional goes below a 640 credit score and actually starts doing those loans, which they will not do now, what'll happen? Their foreclosures will go through the roof. Well, hold on a second, Brian. The new form of subprime loans, these non-QM loans, you're telling me that they perform better than FHA loans? And my answer is, you bet your damn ass, and they do so by a mile. So the good news is no private lender is going to write a conventional loan with a credit score below 620 because they don't want to write it, because they don't want to buy it back, and they don't want to sell that deal on a scratch and dent market for 50 cents on the dollar, and they don't want to have to deal with an audit for committing fraud, because when people with shitty credit quit making their payments, most of our regulators call this fraud. Just got to call it like you see it. But anyways, that was the first one. The second one is now I hear that the president is going to give us more free money for doing nothing. $2,000. Now, don't get me wrong. I want $2,000. You want $2,000. Vegas wants you to get $2,000 because they're dying on a vine right now. People quit going because they don't have disposable money because inflation is real regardless of what we're being told right now. The numbers are crazy. Look at my video from yesterday. It's off the charts bad. No, it's not, according to the federal government. So we're going to give you more free money. The last time we gave people free money for doing nothing, we created the inflationary market that we currently find ourselves in that we had not seen for the previous 50 years. It was back in 45 years. It was back in the 1980s when we had hyperinflation and interest rates were in the 16%. And then Fed chief Paul Volcker decided he was going to take the Fed fund rate and go through the roof with it overnight. He went up by like 6 or 7 full points within a month, and in 2 months he went up by 10 points. We saw the Fed fund rate sitting around 20%. It was crazy. And people said, holy shit, this guy is crazy. And they quit spending money and inflation came down, and we have been in a low inflationary environment for the past 45 years. Until we started giving money away for doing nothing. We started adding dollars into circulation, which dilutes every dollar that you have. Here's a great example. I have $5 and I want to buy 5 apples. Each one of those apples are going to cost me $1 a piece. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Aha. Now all of a sudden the government decides to give me money for doing nothing. Now I have $10 and still want those 5 apples. Remember, I'm vying against other people for free market value on what these apples are going to cost. Well, now that I got additional money and everyone else does, the price of those apples goes up to $2. So now I have to spend I have to spend $10 to get my 5 apples rather than $5. The $10 is twice as much money for the same number of apples. The only thing we've changed is the amount of money in circulation, which diluted the value of $1, because previously, before adding money into circulation, I could buy 1 apple for $1, but now that same apple costs me $2. This is inflation. And this is what's going to happen again, because $2,000 for every man, woman, child in this country, woo, that's a lot of more money, and it's a lot of more heartache and heartbreak for us going forward. And this screams of desperation. It screams of desperation because essentially we've had a bunch of bad economic news lately, and politically bad news about the economy is not expedient. The third thing in the unholy trinity of bad decision making is the 50-year mortgage. We've talked about this as well. What's going on with the 50-year mortgage? Well, we saw precedents over in Scandinavian countries, and we've talked about this yesterday to a certain extent. We've also seen this in Japan and other Asian markets in the past years. Back in the 1980s, the most expensive land in the world was Tokyo. Which, by the way, wouldn't you love to go to Tokyo? I mean, I'd like to go to Bangkok. There's so many cities that would be so great to go to. It just takes so long to fly there. But anyways, the most expensive property in the world was down in Tokyo. Their economy was doing great. They had an actual surplus for their fiscal year. They were exporting significantly more than they were importing, and the yen was doing great, and everyone wanted to invest in all these great tech Japanese companies that we've all come to love, and the price of property in Tokyo skyrocketed. Well, in Japan, they've always had very low interest rates, which is crazy. They've always had government-funded housing to a certain extent, and they've always kept the rates, all loans in Japan, I don't know if they are today, but they have been from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. They were adjustable rate mortgages, and they were always had rates at or around 0. They never went negative like the Scandinavian countries, but you could get a house with an interest rate on that mortgage for 0.5%, which is fine and dandy provided you never see 5% rates like we do, because it's that difference. It's the variance between the 3% and the 7% and the 0% and the 4% in Japan. You're creating 2 separate tropes of loans. You got like the low, hyper low rates, and then you have market value rates. When you add market value rates to the hyper low government manipulated rates, and you try to put these markets together, they don't want to communicate. They don't want to play nice with each other, and that's what we're seeing. So what we do is we come up with stupid ideas to offset the fact that like a 7% market doesn't play well with the 2% market, and a 0% market doesn't play well with the 4% market. So Japan actually did a 100-year loan, because what you do is you extend out the term and you lower the payment. That's the idea. Then everyone has a lower payment and everybody's happy. Because right now sellers don't want to come off their sales price, remember, because they're a 2% trope. They're not a 7. We, if you're buying a house, are in a 7. 7s and 2s don't like each other. So now, in Japan, they did a 100-year loan. And what they found is people just bid up the property values until they got that same payment. Let me ask you this question. I'll just put this in a nutshell. If you could have a totally badass Ferrari for the same price, you could have, I don't know, a Ford Escort. What would you take? If you could have a Porsche or a VW, if you could have a Ferrari or a Ford, okay, what would you take? Same payment. Well, I'll take the Ferrari, and I'll take the Audi, I'll take the Porsche. You keep the Volkswagen, you keep the Ford. I want the fancy, expensive stuff if I have the same payment. It's the same payment, but what you do is, okay, well, what we're going to do, instead of giving you a 3 or 5 year loan on your car, we're going to make it a 25-year loan on your car. Same payment. And people, by and large, would take the more expensive car. So by extending our term, lowering the payment, all we do is we just go ahead and we bid up to where prices are here. See, the 2% market, a $500,000 house with a 3% interest rate in 2022 had a payment that was $900 cheaper Then the same $500,000 house with a 7% payment today, you go from paying $250,000 in interest at a 3% rate to over $1 million in interest on a 50-year loan at 7%. $250,000 over $1 million. But you see, you pull the payment down. So what we're trying to do is pull the payment down so people could buy houses as if we had 2% rates. The difference is we don't have 2% rates, but what you get for that lower payment is another 20 years on your loan, or in the case of Japan, another 70 years on their loan with a 100-year mortgage. All you're doing is extending the misery. If it were only that easy, I could be on board with it, but it's not. Because what happens is people are going to bid the prices of these properties through the roof as if rates were 2%. So what we're currently seeing with our sales prices, we would see a 20, 40, even 50% increase in prices. And when you do away the 50-year mortgage, guess what? We kill the market again. We create the same bottleneck we're facing right now, which, by the way, is a direct result of the 2 and 3% interest rate policies that we enacted just a few short years ago. It has screwed everything up. This is the same type of dumb decision making. We create a 50-year loan. It will create unaffordability, and it will take this hangover that we currently find ourselves in, and it will stretch it out forever. When I say this is a bad idea, I ain't shitting you. This is a horrible idea. So what would you do? You guys let me know. And by the way, I'm going to be back with you here in a very short period, and I'm going to let you know within the next couple of hours some solutions to this and some other indicators that are going to really validate exactly what I'm talking about. Leave some comments down below. Let me know what's going on with you guys. And if there's anything that I can do to help you out, send me an instant message. With that said, make it a great one. We'll talk soon. Bye.